For many years I have studied submarine warfare, but the story of USS Tang always begins with one fact that seems almost paradoxical. The most successful American submarine of the Second World War was lost not to the enemy, but to its own Mark 18 torpedo. To explain this without myths, I return to blueprints, to test reports, and to combat logs where there is no place for legend. Tang belonged to the Balao Type A series of ocean diesel-electric submarines designed for long-range operations in the Pacific Ocean. The boat was laid down at Mare Island Navy Yard in California in January 1943 under a mass construction program. The full length of the hull was about 95 meters, and the beam was about 8 meters. With a draft of about 5 meters standard, displacement on the surface was about 1,500 tons, and submerged displacement exceeded 2,400 tons, which matched the Balao-class. The pressure hull was built from high-strength steel with a rated test depth of about 120 meters and some reserve for emergency overloads. The power plant consisted of 4 General Motors 16 to 7/8 diesel engines, each with about 1,600 horsepower. Driving generators. Underwater propulsion was provided by electric motors, powered by storage batteries with total power sufficient for a submerged speed of about 9 knots. On the surface, Tang could reach about 20 knots, and that allowed her to overtake Japanese convoys that usually moved at 10 to 12 knots. The cruising range on the surface reached about 11,000 nautical miles at an economical speed of about 10 knots, which was critical for Pacific operations. Fuel was stored in external tanks, and the volume allowed the submarine to operate 4 weeks, far from bases without replenishment. The internal layout was divided into compartments, including the forward torpedo room, the living quarters, the control room, the diesel engine room, the motor room, and the after torpedo room. Each compartment had a clearly defined role, and the watertight bulkheads were the main factor of survival under torpedo hits or depth charge attacks. The normal crew consisted of about 80 men, officers, petty officers, and enlisted specialists, each with strictly defined duties and procedures. The armament of Tang included 10 torpedo tubes, 6 in the bow and 4 in the stern, with capacity for about 24 torpedoes. For surface action, the boat carried a 5-inch 25 caliber deck gun and anti-aircraft guns of 40mm and 20mm types. The 5-inch gun could defeat unarmored targets at ranges of several kilometers and complemented torpedo attacks against damaged or stationary ships. The main striking force remained the Mark 14 and later Mark 18 torpedoes, and within them lay the future. Dramatic weakness of the system, the Mark 14 carried a warhead of more than 290 kilograms of explosive but suffered from chronic problems with running. Depth infuses the contact and magnetic exploders of the Mark 14 often failed, and this forced commanders to doubt their own weapons even after accurate shots. The Mark 18 was the first series American electric torpedo, developed with lessons from the German G7E and produced almost no bubble trail. The electric motor of the Mark 18 gave a speed of about 29 knots and a range of several thousand meters, but demanded very reliable gyroscopic control. The lack of a visible wake made the Mark 18 almost invisible at night. At any fault in the course-keeping device could turn it into a wandering projectile. Thompson entered service in late 1943 and was immediately assigned to the submarine forces of the United States Pacific Fleet. Richard O. Kane, former executive officer of the famous submarine USS Wahoo under Dudley Morton, was appointed as commanding officer of Tang. Kane brought to Tang aggressive doctrine based on close approach, night surface attacks, and concentrated torpedo salvos. At short range, the first war patrol began in early 1944, and Tang quickly showed the ability to operate deep inside enemy convoy lanes. The submarine used the SJ radar set to detect targets at night, combining electronic detection with continuous acoustic monitoring of the area. The sonar gear allowed recognition of the propeller sounds of Japanese ships at significant distances, which gave an advantage in choosing an attack position on the first patrol. Tang sank several transports, inflicting noticeable damage on Japanese logistics while avoiding serious damage from depth charge. Tactical reports recorded very high torpedo reload speed in the bow tubes, which shortened intervals between salvos and increased fire density. The second and third patrols brought higher results, and Tang attacked convoys in areas with strong anti-submarine defenses while proving the robustness of her hull under bombing. Each depth charge attack tested the strength of the pressure hull, the ventilation systems, and the tightness of bulkhead seals. And for the Balao design, this was a key advantage. After several patrols, Tang demonstrated that she could fight in extremely dense enemy environments and still avoid fatal structural damage. At the same time, the Navy gradually introduced the Mark 80. Temps became one of the boats that used this new electric torpedo in real combat. The crew noted the advantage of low noise for the Mark 18. Yet technical reports recorded cases of unstable tracks and unwanted course deviations. The combination of proven Mark 14 torpedoes and new Mark 18 torpedoes gave tactical flexibility, but also introduced an extra layer of uncertainty into combat use. The fourth war patrol became the peak of Thamesea's success, and in a single night, the submarine sank several ships from one convoy in surface action. After the torpedo attack, the crew used the 5-inch gun to finish burning or stop transports and to save valuable torpedoes. The anti-aircraft guns were used not only against planes, but also against superstructures and deck targets when range and position made torpedo fire impractical. By autumn 1944, Thames' confirmed score reached 33 ships, sunk with more than 116,000 tons of enemy shipping destroyed. This record made Thames the most successful American submarine of the war, according to official records of the United States Navy. The 5th Patrol in autumn 1944 began as another combat cruise, but later became an example of how a technical defect can destroy a reference vessel. The patrol area was chosen near Taiwan, where heavy Japanese convoys carried troops and supplies toward the fronts of Southeast Asia. Thames sailed with a load of Mark 14 and Mark 18 torpedoes, planning to use the electric models for silent night attacks during the first days of the patrol. The boat sank several transports, once again avoiding prolonged contact with escort units. The climax came during a night attack on a large convoy when Thames took position to fire at an entire group of ships. Several Mark 18 torpedoes were launched from the bow tubes calculated to hit transports and disrupt the overall order of the convoy. According to reports, most torpedoes ran normally and multiple explosions indicated successful hits on several vessels. After the first salvo, Kane decided to complete the attack with stern torpedoes, using the last weapons in the tubes to finish the convoy. It was in this phase, according to survivor testimony, that one of the Mark 18 torpedoes behaved abnormally and began to drift off the calculated track. Such a change of course meant the possibility of a circular run, a phenomenon already known to specialists but not always communicated to frontline commanders in time. The torpedo crew detected the anomaly and passed the information, yet the time available to evade remained extremely small. Kane ordered a change of course and speed, trying to pull the submarine out of the potential sector of the returning weapon, but the inertia of the hull was significant. Within a short interval, the Mark 18 struck the side of Thames, in the area between compartments where the batteries and the control room were located. The blast breached the pressure hull, caused instant flooding of part of the boat, and released gases from damaged batteries which rapidly degraded the breathing conditions. Compartments that maintained tight integrity were cut off from one another, and the crews of surviving sections followed procedures for emergency flooding control and trim correction. The charted depth in this area exceeded the design strength. Depth of the hull, and the mission turned from combat into a struggle for survival. Some sailors managed to use escape gear and leave the submarine, but most of the crew died inside the flooded compartments. Those who survived later stated that the explosion left no time for a full evasive maneuver, and collision with the own torpedo was unavoidable. Out of roughly 80 men, only a few were rescued, and Japanese ships picked them up and sent them to prisoner of war camps. After the war, their statements formed the basis for technical investigations into the causes of circular runs of the Mark 18 and the risks of electric torpedoes. Analysis showed that the critical element was the core stabilization system, and mechanical failures could trigger a turn of the torpedo by 180 degrees. Technical bulletins already mentioned similar incidents, yet information reached active units with delays typical for wartime conditions. The Mark 18 remained a powerful but not fully refined weapon system, created under urgent naval pressure for a low-signature torpedo. The loss of Thames accelerated improvements of torpedo systems and forced a review of procedures for informing commanders about discovered defects. Final Navy reports stressed that the risk of circular runs could not be considered acceptable, even with a high combat efficiency of the weapon. At the same time, those documents described Thames as a model of submarine employment against the convoy system of the enemy. The structural features of the Balao type, such as strong hull, large cruising range, powerful diesels, and sufficient torpedo load, proved effective in real operations. The weak link turned out not to be the platform, but one element of the armament, introduced into service under compressed development schedules. After the war, the experience of Thames was used in the creation of new torpedoes with higher demands on gyro reliability and safety systems in submarine training manuals. Temps is often cited as an example that even the most successful ship depends on its smallest mechanical component. The combat record of 33 ships sunk confirms that with correct tactical decisions, one submarine can significantly affect the logistics of the enemy. At the same time, the loss to a friendly torpedo shows that technical compromise in weapons design can negate the advantages of the platform and crew training in my own work. I always underlined to students that the story of Thames is not a legend, but a concentrated technical and organizational lesson of war. The success of the submarine was achieved by the combination of a sound Balao design, an effective tactical concept, and rigorous crew preparation. The defeat was caused by the engineering limits of the Mach 80, by delayed communication of risk information to combat commanders. This balance of strengths and weaknesses makes the history of Temps a clear illustration of how technology, personnel, and organization interact during war for the fleet. Temps remained both a symbol of maximum combat effectiveness of submarine forces and a warning about the danger of underestimating technical details. For me, as a historian, USS Tang is an example of how one submarine can win in the statistics of battles, yet lose to a single flaw in the design of its weapon.